How to create an iconic logo. What does it take to create an iconic logo that is memorable to your customers? Well, we're going to be covering exactly that in a few simple steps. The average person comes across between 4,000 to 10,000 logos every single day, and the vast majority of these logos are completely ignored because they aren't powerful enough to capture customers' attention, never mind keep it. A logo can be defined as a symbol or other small design utilized by a business or person to identify its products, uniforms, vehicles, and so on and so forth. So why do some logos become successful while others just become completely ignored? Why do some logos stick in our mind, and why do some just seem a little bit too off and they don't quite make sense? So why do you even need a logo first and foremost? Everybody wants to have a logo which is simple, memorable, and iconic. It simply makes it easier for us to notice everything that's related to the brand, whilst also making sure that we don't mistake the company or person for someone that they are not. So in essence, we need a logo because of three simple reasons. Number one, it helps your customers recognize you. Number two, it reduces the risk of you being mistaken for someone else. And also number three, a great logo can communicate exactly what your brand does or offers your target audience. We'll dive deeper into the third point later on, but I just want to make you fully aware why some businesses can pay upwards of $1 million for brand identity creation. Companies pay a great deal for logo design and brand identity creation because it's important to make the right first impression, and they need to ensure that their customers can relate their branding to what the brand can offer. It's also massively important to stand out in the market that they're competing within. So the question that many people wonder is what actually makes one logo better than another? Everybody wants a logo which is incredibly simple and memorable, but how do you do it? In order to understand what actually makes a logo iconic, let's dive into one of the most well-known logos on earth. You don't have to work too hard to understand what the world-renowned logo of Amazon represents. The logo is simple, to the point, and communicates two very clear messages which are presented in a very clever way. Firstly, the logo is designed with an arrow starting at the letter A and ending at the letter Z. This shows that the company sells everything that you could want by playfully, stating that they sell everything from A to Z. Pretty clever, but secondly, the arrow also represents a smile with a little dimple on the right side to communicate the customer-centric nature of the company and how they invest heavily in essentially making the customer as happy as possible. So what makes the Amazon logo so special? Well, every iconic logo out there in the world has four common traits. Number one is it should be distinctive and simple enough to remember. Number two, it should be easy to notice at a glance. Number three, the logo should work in any size, big or small. And lastly, number four, it should ideally communicate a sense of feeling or story relevant to the brand's product offering. These common traits can be found in almost every iconic brand logo in the world today. And by understanding each trait fully, it can begin to make sense why so many other logos just don't make the cut. So the first step to creating an iconic logo is to make it simple and different. Iconic logos are very refined and simple. This means taking away all the frills and extra details which are unnecessary. And the goal should be to communicate the feeling or story of exactly what the company does in the simplest way possible. A prime example of a brand making its logo simpler is Starbucks. This newly designed logo from their rebrand in 2011 takes the company's brand story and showcases it in a distinctive and simple way. The Starbucks logo is one of the most famous and well-known brand marks in the world today, and it's said that an early creative manager searched through old marine documents until he found the most perfect image of a siren from the 16th century for the brand's logo design. Many coffee shops would think about using a coffee bean or something similar to kind of visually represent what their company does. But Starbucks understood that thinking differently, thinking sort of outside the box and becoming known for an original message was the way to win. The best way to realize if your logo is simple and different enough is to collect the logos from all the competing companies together from your market and place your logo in the very center. Does it stand out, or does it just look like everyone else's? As mentioned before, it's critical that your logo is easy to notice at a glance. If you cover the simple and distinctive step correctly, this step should pretty much take care of itself. The logo should be simple enough to notice from a glance, making it difficult to miss if a customer is just passing and not giving you their full attention. The more complex something is, the less likely that we'll remember it, or at least put in the effort to do so. This is important because it helps your brand mark to be easier to remember for your customer. The easier something is, the less energy and resources it takes for our mind to store the image or piece of information in our long-term memory. The more complex something is, the less likely we'll remember it or even be willing to put in the effort to do so. The iconic Adidas logo was rebranded in 1997 and is still going strong to this day. You can actually see how the brand mark has been simplified over time, likely due to the development of our understanding of how logos can be used effectively to drive business, design trends, and the new ways that logos needed to be applied, such as the transition from printed communication to a more digital environment. Our brains are intentional with what we store in our memory. So by making our logos as simple and distinctive as possible, we can make sure that we're giving ourselves the best chance of our customers memorizing our brand mark and perhaps even guiding future buying decisions. Remember, your logo has to work whether it's big or small. In simple terms, your logo should be easy to recognize and relate back to your brand, regardless of whether it's as big as a building or whether it's as small as being on an app icon on your phone. The importance of scalability in logo design is essential. Brand identity systems are used by many established brands to allow their distinctive mark to be easy to notice no matter how big or small the environment. Each logo is responsive and able to be used in any possible situation, whether it be on a billboard or a little bottle top. If your logo isn't scalable, you risk being restricted from being able to apply it in a number of useful ways in future. So make sure you keep this in mind as you begin the logo development process. And a good test that you can actually use to see if it is scalable is to put it on your screen at around 1 centimeter in height. Last but not least, all iconic logos communicate a feeling or a story. So how does a logo communicate a feeling or tell a meaningful story? It's actually not that easy, which is why so few brand marks can pull it off well. There are very few designers skilled and creative enough to come up with a brand mark which is successful in telling a relevant yet captivating story about the company it's representing. The FedEx logo has a little arrow between the E and the X, a little small detail which you would miss on a first glance, but when you see it, it's very hard to unsee it. This means that first you need to decide what feeling your brand wants to evoke within your customer, or what you want to essentially tell them about your brand. This can often be found within your brand's purpose, mission, vision statement, or even brand values. And by understanding the essence of your brand and what it actually stands for, you can then begin to take that message and build your logo and brand identity around it. If you need some help with this tricky stage of the process, you can book a free brand discovery session with me personally, and I can help you to actually guide you through that process. It can be a little bit difficult. Links in the description. I look forward to chatting with you if you need any additional support. Now you understand what actually makes a logo iconic, you'll then likely want to know how you can design one for yourself. Now you know the main traits all iconic logos share at this point, and this can help you to understand and guide you through the development of your own logo design process. By keeping these key traits in mind, you can manage the process of creating an impactful, meaningful, and memorable logo design that is really going to take your branding to the next level. If you're looking to create a truly great logo for your business, following these steps will give you a blueprint to follow from start to finish. Step 1 is, how do you find a great logo designer? Unless you're designing the logo yourself, the first step is for you to find a logo designer who knows their stuff. Finding a logo designer who understands the key fundamentals of iconic logo design can be difficult if you don't know what to look for. But if you use the checklist whilst reviewing their work, you can quickly separate the greats from, well, the not so greats. So a trustworthy designer will always share their processes and explain clearly why their work was developed the way that it was, showcase their logo designs applied in a range of different environments, have a range of different projects to share with you to show the different design challenges that they have experienced and overcame, and they will often supply a set of brand guidelines to make sure that your logo, colour and fonts are all used properly afterwards. They'll also most likely ask quite a lot of questions, and they should also be able to explain their design process in a really easy to understand and easy to digest manner. Using this checklist should help you to highlight which logo designer is going to be best for you and your particular project. I personally work with a select number of clients every single month, but if you'd like to work directly with me to help you develop your brand's logo and visual identity, you can get in touch by booking a discovery session in the description to this video. Step 2 is how to brief your designer. This step of the process is very important, as you need to explain exactly what you want to achieve with your logo to your designer so they can do what they do best. Most quality designers will have a set process that they follow for logo design. So they will literally ask you all the right questions in the very beginning of the process if they know their stuff. Here are some key things to remember when actually briefing a logo designer to make sure that you get the best results possible. Make sure you tell them if you have any preset expectations about what your logo should look like. Also make sure you tell them about your business and tell them what you're planning to do with your business in future. This is really key. Next, be clear about the feeling and the brand story that you want to communicate from the beginning of the process. And lastly, don't expect them to be mind readers. Quality designers value their time and try to be as upfront as possible with you to try and get the best results for you. Ask your designer to ask you questions if they don't ask up front, but make sure that they have all the information that they need and it's in your best interest that they do so. Step 3 is make sure that your logo design ticks all the boxes. We've already covered this step, but when you're actually reviewing the initial logo designs, make sure the designs meet the criteria we've covered earlier. In order to make sure your logo has the potential to share some of the same traits as the iconic logos out there in the world today, it's essential you even share this list with your designer. This way they can understand exactly what you're expecting, whilst also understanding that you know your stuff and you won't be misled by any design jargon or misdirection just in case they try and pull the wool over your eyes. Step number 4 is, can it be any simpler? So you finally refined your designs and you have a logo that just seems to tick all the boxes. So what's next? Well, a simple but effective question I always ask myself when I'm designing logos for clients is, could this be any simpler? Can anything be taken away? It's a simple question, but one which really helps you to chisel away at the design until there is nothing left but the true essence of what your brand stands for. The message that truly matters. Less is truly more. But don't take away too much or you'll be left with just another graphic with no actual substance. If you want to work with a professional agency to really take your branding to the next level, I and my team at Clementine House Brand Agency specialise in working with startups and medium-sized businesses to help them grow through the power of branding. So if you'd like to check out our work or if you'd like to sort of get in touch, then click the link in the description and you can get in touch with me so we can chat about your project in depth. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video until the end. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like or a comment just to let me know what you found the most useful, that would be absolutely incredible. And feel free to subscribe because we have so much incredible content left in 2021 to come to you. So thank you so much again, and I will see you very soon.